Hello everyone, my name is Mirna and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather daily to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today we are going to be talking with Dr. Sirena Pellarolo once again. She is a board certified holistic health coach, international author and speaker, radio host, and blogger with more than 30 years of experience in self-development, health, and wellness. We're going to be talking once again with our dear Latina and Native American Cynthia Ruiz. She is an executive leadership coach, first Latina to serve as a president of the City of Los Angeles multi-billion-dollar pension fund. Before starting the conversation with these two amazing women, we want to remind you that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world, and you can help us by subscribing to our channel, leaving us a positive comment on this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that is going to benefit of the content that we are going to be talking here today. Also, while we are live streaming, we have an active chat. It's the screen you're going to see on our side, and through there you can interact with us. We also want you to collaborate with Mindalia with your own valuable content. For that, you can go to our website. On the top, you're going to find a link that says Collaborate with Mindalia. That link is going to take you to a form that you can fill out for our technical team to be getting in contact with you. You can collaborate with us in English through Mindalia TV English, but you can also do it in Spanish through Mindalia Televisión and in Portuguese through Mindalia Televisao. We want you to visit our different channels and platforms to follow our Facebook pages and Instagram accounts that not only allow you to be updated with the information we share there on a daily basis, but also you help us reach as much people in the planet as possible, and we accomplish with that our mission, which is help raising the level of consciousness around the world. I'm not going to be delaying this any further, and now I am going to have the great pleasure and honor to introduce our dear Sirena Pellarolo, Dr. Sirena Pellarolo, and Cynthia Ruiz. Thank you to Mindalia live streaming. The screen is yours now.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited to co-host this interview with you, Mirna. And Cynthia, I want to ask you, because we're going to be talking about the amazing launch you had yesterday of Yo También, the stories of Latina women, and it's like a version, as a Latina version of the Me Too movement. But before we get there, I really want you to give us a trajectory of your life, because you're so multifaceted. You're a professor, an author. You have researched about your own heritage, the Cherokee Nation. You have been working as in politics, in city politics, or as an official of the city of LA. Please tell us about your trajectory and how you got where you are right now.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to both of you beautiful ladies for the opportunity to be here. And I really support what you're doing, because it's about raising the consciousness of the world. And at a very young age, I learned that you actually want to be the change you want to see in the world. So what my life has been about is really, changing things the way that I want to see them. Now, I am half Native American and half Mexican. So my mother's side, we're Cherokee. So I'm a registered Cherokee citizen. And from the Cherokee side, I get my spirituality and my love for Mother Nature. From my Latina side, which is Mexican, I get my passion for life and actually love of music and love of dance and love of people. So I like to say I have the best of both worlds. But I'm going to be honest, I grew up in Los Angeles and it wasn't easy. I grew up in the inner city and I was surrounded by a lot of negativity, a lot of gangs, drugs, and things that you see in the inner city. So I decided at a very early age that I wanted something different for my life. And what made the difference for me is education. I was the first person in my family to go to college, and it wasn't easy. Let me tell you, it was a very difficult path because I didn't have any guidance. My parents couldn't even afford to buy a book for me, so I had to do everything on my own. But I was determined. So by the time I was 23, I had my master's degree, and I got my master's degree in counseling And my undergraduate, I had a dual major. I had counseling and Chicano studies. Since then, now they call it Latina studies, but this was back in the day. And so from there, I just really, have been on this spiritual journey, on this quest for a connection, a quest for something that's greater than myself. And through many, many years of meeting different people, I actually have now incorporated a spiritual practice into my daily life, where I, first of all, start with a gratitude list. I pray and I meditate. And I've had so many different great experiences and met so many different people along the way. So now at this point in my life, I have a passion for giving back, a passion for helping. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to co-found the Yo También healing movement. And like you said, it's the Latina or Latino version of the Me Too movement.
That's so beautiful and so needed. The Me Too movement needs a Latina version. So tell us a little bit. I'm very interested when your first book is on Cherokee spirituality and leadership, and there's 12 qualities for a leader according to the Cherokee tradition. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, but I do have a correction. So
Okay.
the Cherokee Wisdom is actually my second book.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So my first book was called Finding Sane Relationships in a Crazy World.
Yes.
And it's in English and Spanish.
That's right.
And yeah, it sounds like a relationship book, but I really believe that you have it. The most important relationship you can have is with yourself. We go through life and we accumulate all this emotional baggage, and it's through experiences. And so it's about helping people clear their emotional baggage and being happy and healthy, because once you're happy and healthy, you have better relationships. So the second book, Cherokee Wisdom, 12 Lessons for Becoming a Powerful Leader, as you mentioned, I'm a professor, so I started teaching leadership. And for me, my core values are what drive my leadership. I've been very blessed to have a very high level executive positions. And when you have to make tough decisions, for me, it's about making the decisions from my core values. And my core values I get from my Cherokee side and my Cherokee heritage. And it's like most cultural values, it's integrity, it's perseverance, it's community, helping each other's out. And the final one is teaching. So if you have knowledge and wisdom, share it with others so you can make their life better.
That's beautiful. And you were telling us about your beginnings and in East LA. Was it East LA or El Sereno?
So I grew up in Highland Park, which is part of Los Angeles. And, it's about choices we make in life. I chose to go to college. My older brother grew up in the same household. He made choices to get involved in gangs, and he's been in prison all of his adult life. He's been in and out of prison, and now he's a heroin addict. So it doesn't matter where you start. It's a matter of the choices you make. He made very, very different choices in his life, and I don't judge people. That was his choices. But I knew from a very young age that I wanted to help people. I knew that I had a relationship with the Creator, and the Creator had something in mind for my life. And I knew I had to do my part to get the education and work hard and be a good role model in the Latina community.
Yes, yes. So you believed in yourself and in your vision and in your mission.
I did, and it's all with my connection. I say Creator from my Native American side, but I don't have a problem saying God. I don't have a problem saying the divine. It doesn't matter what term you use, but really understanding, number one, that there's a power that's much bigger than us. And number two, we're all connected. We're all connected not only to each other, but to Mother Earth and nature and all the living creatures. And so having that understanding really guided me towards wanting to help others and do something good in this world.
Yes. And how did you land those executive positions with the city of Los Angeles?
So when I first got out of college, I had my own business. At that time, it was a counseling business. I was working in the workers' compensation field. I was a rehabilitation counselor, and I had a very successful business that I was able to build up to over $1 million a year. But as such as life, things changed, and the laws for workers' compensation in California changed and basically eliminated the job that I was doing. So I had to reinvent myself. So it's a way when you have challenges in your life, and we all do, it's about how you tackle those challenges. Some people in the field that I was in, they became devastated and they became depressed. And so I just said, okay, well, it's not what I wanted because I was doing very well. I loved the work and I was very successful. But I said, okay, I have to change. And so I had always been involved in politics. So I was appointed as a commissioner under Public Works, the city of Los Angeles. And then when Villaraigosa became mayor, he put me as president of that commission, which I was in charge of 5,000 people, just under a $1 billion-a-year budget. But it was a lot of work. That job was a 24-hour-a-day job. I was always working. So after 6 years of that, I said, that's a little bit too much. I have to have some kind of life. And so at that point, I applied for a position at the Port of Los Angeles, and I was an executive at the Port of LA and loved that job. But just again, another challenge came my way after 3.5 years of doing that job. We had a new executive director, and he basically eliminated the entire executive team. So once again, like a split second, I had to reinvent myself. And so I want to let people know is that nobody has a perfect life. We all have challenges in life. It's how you deal with those challenges. People don't like change by human nature, but some of the biggest challenges in my life have turned out to be the biggest blessings because it led me down a different path. So when my job at the port was eliminated, that's when I said, you know what? I've had enough of this. I'm going to open my own business. And that's when I started doing executive coaching, leadership development. I've been teaching off and on for many, many years, but now I teach leadership and management at a master's degree level. So I'm blessed and grateful.
Yeah, all opportunities to continue to grow and continue to serve and express more and more of the beautiful soul that you are.
Well, and I have to say that, we are all beautiful souls. And one of the things I'm really excited about right now is how many women are becoming empowered. And I really think that now is the time of the divine feminine.
That's right.
We all know that there's masculine energy and feminine energy. And when I say that, I don't mean anything negative against the masculine or men. But what's happened is that over the last, I don't know how long time, we've been out of balance. We're in a patriarchal society. And so for me, what I believe is that as the women rise, we're going to get to a point where there's balance. It's not that we're better than men or better than the masculine, but we do need to be in harmony and balance for the earth to be a better place.
That's right. That's right. So this leads us perfectly into your new project, which is the Yo También movement that got launched yesterday. Tell us how did that come together?
Well, and I just mentioned how some of your biggest challenges in your life can be the biggest benefits. And so when I was 17 years old, a young girl, I was violently raped. And I didn't know what to do with that information. I just buried it. I didn't call the police. At the time I was already living on my own at 17. I told my roommate, and I didn't tell anybody else because I was embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I felt guilty, like somehow I had something to do with it, which I now know that I didn't. And so what I did is I buried this information. And so it was painful. It was really painful because I was never so scared in my life as I was when I experienced that trauma. And then so what I did is I went to college, and because I didn't feel safe, I ended up basically marrying the first guy that came along and was seeking safety, only to find myself in a physically abusive relationship. So not only did I have that sexual trauma, now I have the physical abuse. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say I actually stayed in that relationship for 13 years. And I finally left that relationship, not even for myself, I'm embarrassed to say, it was for my son. Because I realized I had one son. At the time he was 7, and I realized if I stay in this physically abusive relationship, my son is going to think this is normal and grow up and repeat the cycle. So I knew I had to break the cycle. So I've had all this trauma in my life. So I've done a lot of healing in different ways. And so for me, it's a issue that's very personal. So I stood back and watched the Me Too movement, which I support the Me Too movement. I think it's fabulous. However, I couldn't relate a lot to the Me Too movement because the Me Too movement deals with sexual trauma in the workplace. In the Latino community, most of the sexual trauma happens at home with somebody that you know, maybe even a relative. And it happens most of the time when you're young. Not only girls and women, it happens to boys and men as well. So watching this Me Too movement, I told a couple of my girlfriends, we have to do something. We have to be the change that we want to see. We have to break the cycle. And they're like, well, how are we going to do this? I said, I don't know, but we have to do something. And so we launched the Yo También movement with a non-denominational community prayer circle where we came together because we knew we had to tackle this issue holistically. So in the prayer circle, and Michel Pascual, a friend of ours, actually sang as we launched this, and he has a beautiful voice. It was so powerful. And we prayed for the Latino community in general. We prayed for anybody that is at any time in their life experienced sexual trauma. And this is where people don't understand. We prayed for anybody that caused the trauma. Because the people that cause the trauma, they're broken.
Yes.
Many of them have suffered some type of trauma in their life. So in order for us to create a cultural shift, we have to look at all of the aspects and all of the community and help the community heal. That's another big difference between us and the Me Too movement. We're focused not so much on the trauma, but on the healing.
That's right.
We want people to heal. Like I said, not only the community, the people that have suffered the trauma, but the people that cause the trauma. Because my dream is that in future generations, we will no longer be having this conversation because we're getting together and healing, and the young people won't have to experience this.
This is such a beautiful story of how through prayer and bringing all the friends together, this got created. And you launched the book yesterday. You decided to write a book, a collection of stories of triumph, and you launched the book yesterday.
That's correct. So the first step was the community prayer circle. The second step is, you know what, how do we communicate to people that they're not alone? And so what we did is we brought together 10 different people, and they're not all authors before. It's 10 people came together. You know, I like to say the creator brought us together. 10 people came together and shared their story of personal triumph and personal healing through this process. And I'm so happy because we actually have one man, brave man, that was willing to tell his story, because so many men have told me that they were traumatized, but they weren't ready to say that publicly because of the shame and guilt. So we have some amazing people. Dr. Anita Sanchez out of Colorado. She is an international bestseller. She's an amazing woman. But then we have people that have never written a book and that are homemakers. But what do we have in common? That sexual trauma. And so the way I thought about it is if we share different stories, that somebody that has experienced trauma will see something in one of the stories. They may not relate to me, but they may relate to somebody else in the story. And again, it's not from the victim state, it's how do we heal? and come together as a community.
Yeah.
Cynthia, that's amazing. The part that is, the most surprising part is the fact that you prayed for the people that caused the harm, which I think is the very best part of the whole movement, because you can't attend a situation without paying attention to all of the facts that are involved. And as you're saying, they are broken themselves. How is that received by people? How do you think they react when you say, yes, I am praying for the one that caused the harm too? Are people most likely open to that, or do they reject the idea of it?
Well, I'm going to be 100% honest. We've gotten mixed reviews on that one. It depends on where you're at in your healing process.
Yes.
If you, like myself, I'd like to feel like I'm healed. I've done a lot of work over the years to heal. If you are healed and you're healthy and happy, you get it. If you're still in the early stages of healing and you have a lot of anger and you have a lot of resentment and hate, then some people have trouble. Like, why are you going to pray for that guy? He should be in jail. For us, it's not about putting people in jail. As we all know, men of color have a higher degree or higher representation in the prisons. It's not about putting people in prison. It's about changing the culture and changing the whole dynamic. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And, so that's why we launched the book. And I'm so excited to say it's been so well received. We relaunched an ebook and we launched a paperback. Both became #1 bestsellers in our categories right away. And so people tell me that, our group is courageous. And I don't see it as courageous. I see it as wanting to help others. And yesterday at our official book launch, our live book launch, I had so many people of all ages coming up to me and hugging me and crying and saying, this has happened to me too. So thank you so much for starting the conversation.
Wow.
Yes. Tell us more about what people were saying yesterday. I think she's...
So it was interesting. So what we did is, obviously we were selling books and we sold out of all the books that we had. And then we had, each author got to read a quote from their story so we can, personalize it. And then our MC, and I think I mentioned Emiliana Cuaraca, who started the Women's March in Los Angeles with our MC, and she's so amazing. She decided on her own that she wanted to open it up for a question and answer. And so a lot of people from the audience were like, this happened to me also. How do I heal? And just, they're very grateful for us to even be talking about this, because this has been a secret in the Latino community. And we've seen a big shift in the last year. And I certainly am not going to talk bad about anybody, but I think it's significant that the Catholic Church, for the first time ever, called a conference at the Vatican to start talking about this. Again, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not saying anything bad about the Catholic Church, but they're for the first time having a conference and acknowledging. So you have, the Catholic Church talking about it. You have the Me Too movement talking about it. So a lot of people, it's on their minds, and many people that experience the trauma, they feel like they're alone. They feel like they have nobody to talk to. So we've got such a positive response, but I'm realistic. I know that right now we're kind of in the honeymoon stage, and anytime you create change, there's resistance. And so I do anticipate, and I'm ready for some type of resistance. For example, and I'm certainly not comparing myself to him, but somebody like, Martin Luther King Jr. We love him now and we celebrate him. But when he was alive, he was one of the most hated people, not by the usual suspects, the racists, but his own people, the Baptist ministers, because he represented change. And so I'm very aware that we can get a backlash in the Latino community, and some people are not supporting, but I can't worry about that. What my intention, and it's pure, and there's 2 other founding members, Gabriela Torres and Jenny Estrada, and what we are very clear on is that our intention is for healing. It's a positive intention. And we believe that starting the conversation will start the healing.
That's right. Do you have any other activities planned based on this movement?
So, yes, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a series of panel discussions. So we're going to start locally, and we're Cal State LA. We're in discussions with them to have panel discussions, and that's going to be more of an intimate kind of conversations where people can feel free in public to share their stories. We also have a second book because so many people have come up to me and said, I'm ready to share my story. I want to share my story. And then the other thing we have in the works that I'm really excited about is what we want to do is we want to do a virtual resource fair. And what I mean by that is on using a virtual platform, bring the people that are providing services. Like yesterday, we had the East Los Angeles Women's Center, which they provide they have the rape hotline and they have a lot of services. They were there. So we want to connect people with the services, the resources, because there's a lot of free resources out there that people just don't know where to start. So in the works, we have a big virtual resource fair, for lack of a better term, that we want to connect the people that need healing. And when I talk about resource fair, I'm not just talking about the traditional healing modalities like therapy. I'm talking about energy work. I'm talking about meditation. I'm talking about yoga. Healing's not a one size fits all. So what we want to do is give everybody a menu of different options and let them pick what their healing journey looks like.
That's fantastic.
Fantastic. And Cynthia, sorry, you can go.
No, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. In the spirit of being April, the prevention month, is there anything that you have, you have seen so many different cases. If we could prevent this, is there something that you have seen is like effective towards prevention of the sexual abuse?
Well, I don't know if right now today we can prevent it, but it's really speaking to our youth and letting them know what healthy boundaries are, especially when they're kids. If it's somebody, because a lot of the perpetrators, when they go after young people, they groom them and they get their trust. And so it's really educating the young people about what is a healthy boundary and what is right and what is, where are the lines, because it gets blurred. If it's your favorite Theo and you spend a lot of time with them and then all of a sudden he starts crossing lines, the kids need to be empowered enough to go tell somebody instead of keeping it a secret. So I don't know if we can prevent it at this point, but what we can do is let the kids know if something happens, immediately go to an adult and start that conversation.
Okay, thank you.
And probably also work with the adults to find their own wisdom within them, because many times the children share with their parents and the parents want to cover up, no?
Exactly, especially, so we have three of our authors, all were victims of incest. And when it's something as traumatic as incest, obviously you're a young child. In this particular case, it was three women. So we all know that fathers and daughters have a special bond. But then if the father, for whatever reason, crosses those lines, it's confusing to the child. It's like, wait a minute, I love my father so much. Why is this happening? So what happens many times is that they tend to start detachment. They detach and they convince themselves that this is not wrong. And then when they do go tell the other parent, a lot of times they're not believed, they're not supported. And my experience has been, kids don't make this stuff up. So if somebody comes to you and tells you that something's happened, believe them and talk to the other people and find out what's going on. Because like I said, what's happened in the past is we've just ignored it. Let's ignore the problem, it'll go away, and we keep it as secrets and we can't let anybody know. And so it's very, what we've done here is we've ripped off the Band-Aid of this very uncomfortable conversation, but we also want to draw a line in the sand saying, as a community, we will no longer tolerate this behavior, and we want to be healthy. Because what people don't realize is when you have sexual trauma, it can impact you in many, many ways. Not, you carry it with you, it comes out in different ways. And it also, for women in particular, has an impact on their sexuality. And they shut down and they don't really come to appreciate their own individual sexuality.
Yes, that is so true.
I know that's a lot.
Yes.
Nice.
How do you work with shame? Being shame, one of the feelings that stop people from actually communicating what is happening to them. What would it be your advice on people to stop that shame and just speak up?
So it's funny because, and this is not a funny topic, but when we first started the movement, we found that a lot of people came to us and said, I have shame. And so we actually did a little video where we were dancing, and we were dancing off the shame. We called it the shame shake. So we could shake it. So we were shaking the shame off because, it weighs so many people down. And it's a topic that's so heavy. And so we said, we have to do something a little fun. So we did the shame shake and dance around and, just really release it, physically release that shame that you're carrying around, and having the understanding that if you've been traumatized, it's not your fault.
No, that's definitely very sensitive topic.
It is, but it's a much needed topic. And every time when I go out and speak, I find when I share my story, somebody else comes up to me and says, it happened to me too. And I'm not saying that I've been healed forever. It's been probably in the last 10 years when I really went through my spiritual journey that I feel like I'm healed. And so during Women's Month, which is in March, I actually, a couple of years ago, spoke before a crowd of 300 people. And that was the first time that I publicly said in front of 300 people that I had been raped. And it was actually really freeing to me. But after I got off stage, I had a line of probably 25 people all coming to me crying, saying, it happened to me too. Thank you so much for talking about it. I've never heard anybody talk about it. And I've been carrying this around, and now I can start my healing.
Wow.
That's such a ripple effect. That is such a healing beyond the people you touch every day. I mean, this is what we need as the divine feminine continues to rise. This is a healing for everybody. And the men that sometimes feel a little threatened by women coming together and empowering ourselves, this is for them too. This is not only for us. This is a partnership.
And so can you imagine, the women have shame, but the men that have been sexually traumatized, their shame is amplified, and it's so difficult. And one of the things that nobody talks about, when men go to prison, they're sexually traumatized in prison. The young boys are sexually traumatized by family members. I mean, it's not just a woman issue, it's really both. And so we just want to heal the community. And we want people to realize that you're not alone. So one of the things that I recommend to people, because they asked me yesterday, well, where do I start? And I said, the first step is just saying it out loud. Just admitting to somebody that you trust that you have been raped, you've been molested, whatever term. So once you say it, and then you go through a process of forgiveness. So you forgive yourself, and you forgive the person that caused the trauma, and forgive anybody around that you felt should have protected you from that trauma. If you're a survivor of incest, you want to make sure that you forgive your mother for not protecting you. So there's a whole thing of forgiveness. And then what I like people to do is write down the experience. It's, write it down in detail. And then what I like to do to release it, I like to burn it. Burn that experience or tear it up or, throw it in the trash. But it's about that process of releasing it, the experience, because all emotions have energy. So it's releasing that energy around it. And then the final piece is really accepting that you're perfect just the way you are, you're worthy, and you're lovable.
Yes.
That's
beautiful. We're about to wrap this up. I wanted to ask you something. In your experience, do you think healing is a process or an act or an event, like a punctual event?
It's a process. I honestly believe that it's a process, and it's not a linear process. It's a process where you can do the work and then something creeps back up. So it's not linear, it's up and down, and sometimes you may feel like you're great, but it's a painful process. I'm not going to lie. To release, to do the work and forgive people and release the experience, it's painful. And a lot of people, cry and release, and that's okay. But once you get to the other side where you're comfortable and healed and happy, it's worth all that, because then you can be your authentic self and enjoy life, because life's meant to be enjoyed. You're meant to have fun. So I just want to, encourage everybody, if you want to connect with us, we're on Facebook, Yo También Healing. And we also have an email. Our email is yotambienhealing@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter. So get in touch with us. And like I said, we have many more books to come. If you're ready to share your story. But I just want to thank you, beautiful ladies, you two beautiful souls, for providing this platform and having the conversation. So I just want to say I am grateful to both of you for allowing me to be able to speak with you today.
And we're very grateful for you for having expressed all these beautiful ideas and for doing the work that you do. You are really an amazing powerhouse, and I feel very honored to know you.
Well, I feel honored to know both of you.
Thank you. How about you, Doctor? Where can our audience find you?
At my website is sirenapellarolo.com. It's SIRENAPELLAROLO. On Facebook, I'm Dr. Sirena Pellarolo, and on Instagram also Dr. Sirena Pellarolo.
Thank you. Once again, ladies, thank you for allowing Mindalia being a channel for your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your time with Mindalia's audience. And to our beautiful audience, of course, thank you for tuning. Thank you for following, for subscribing, for giving us a thumbs up. With that, you help us accomplish our mission, which is just help raise the level of consciousness around the world. Remember that you can collaborate with Mindalia with your own valuable content. For that, you can go to our website. You're going to find a link on the top. It says Collaborate with Mindalia. That links take you to a form that you can fill out, and our technical team will be getting in contact with you, and you can collaborate with us in Spanish, English, and Portuguese, because we are airing information through Mindalia Televisao, Mindalia Televisión, and Mindalia TV English. Thank you again, ladies, for sharing with us your time and your wisdom. To the audience also, thank you for being with us. And from our heart to yours, sending a very big hug. Have a good day.
Thank you.